Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Insightful Accountant webinar, Advanced Techniques to Automate and Standardize Your Workflow, sponsored by Intuit. Insightful Accountant is an online news and information source written for small business advisors interested in the latest news and offerings in accounting technology. My name is Emily Hedrick, and I'll be your webinar host. If you have any questions during the session, please enter them in the Q&A box, and we'll try to address them. Everyone that has registered will receive a follow-up email with the handout and recording later today. Today's speakers are Clayton Crouch and Jeremy Herbal. Clayton Crouch is a product specialist who supports the sales team in the professional tax group while hosting webinars and product demos for Intuit's professional tax customer base. He is passionate about helping customers implement the right cloud-based solutions which allow them to grow and scale their business and power prosperity for their clients. Jeremy Herbal enjoys getting to put his passion for solving customer problems to work as a product manager with Intuit. His experience from marketing, finance, and services allow him to lead teams to build solutions that power prosperity for accountants and their clients. Jeremy lives outside of Dallas with his wife and 2 cats. Thank you, Jeremy and Clayton, for being here with us today. And when you're ready, you can get started.
All right, thanks, Emily. Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So today is really all about automation and standardization and really making sure that you're leveraging technology and improving efficiency in your workflow. So Emily, awesome introductions. I appreciate it. I guess a little bit about me on the personal side is I also live in Dallas. I live with my beautiful Irish wife and my 1-year-old son. And yeah, Jeremy, anything else you wanted to add about yourself?
I don't think so. I'm excited for today's topic, though. This one really interests me.
Yeah, and it's really the second half of what we initially discussed on visibility and centralizing your contacts and collaboration and communication, and then taking the second piece of Intuit Practice Management. And I'll let you cover just to give everyone an introduction here on these next 2 slides.
Thanks for that, Clayton. Again, we'll be diving into the product today, but if you do want to find out more, the URL on the screen is a great place to go. We have a lot of resources there. You can also schedule a demo with someone if you would like to get more in-depth information. Clayton, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll just talk a bit. So what is Intuit Practice Management? If you're unfamiliar with it, it's a practice management tool, specifically a workflow tool. And it really aims to help you, Clayton mentioned the centralizing contacts, and then the automation of tasks and standardized workflow, which is going to lead you to, better productivity and greater profitability. We're really going to focus today on the automation of tasks and the standardization of the workflow. That I think is where you're really going to be able to see a lot of power with the tool, is being able to have standard processes and then automate the low-level things that you don't necessarily need someone to go touch and just have the system take care of them for you. That's really where I think the power lies with the tool. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. So as we jump into the agenda today, first we're going to uncover some of the key challenges, some of the common challenges really around the topics that we're going to be discussing and what other firms are facing. We're going to talk about how to scale your firm and the best practices around that, automation, workflow automation, the power behind that as well, the client chase, collecting client data and that painful process, and then how to resolve that. We're going to talk about standardization and the importance of having standardization in your firm and standard operating procedures. And after we talk about theory, we're actually going to bring this to life inside the product that Jeremy was just talking about and show you live what we're talking about, show you some of those workflows, show you some of that automation and standardization, as well as customization, and show you why firms are becoming and how firms are becoming so much more efficient. So, every time we talk about challenges, and really I've only listed the ones that are relevant to this session, but I think it goes back to really the most critical one, which we hear all the time, Jeremy, around firm capacity. And all of the ones that are listed here really play a direct part, in that piece about firms being stretched thin. So around data collection, very obvious that retrieving information from clients is not a fun thing. It's cumbersome, it's difficult. No one really enjoys sending a reminder after reminder to collect that important client information. As far as manual workflows, firm processes are manual. The workflows are complex, the work is repetitive, and information is really scattered across multiple places, right? There's a duplication of efforts in many cases, and a lot of things are duplicated manually. So besides having a lot of different sources of truth and not having it centralized, many firms don't actually have standardized processes that are either in place or they're not being updated and reevaluated or revamped as needed. And then jumping to the third section, it's attracting and retaining talent is a challenge in itself, but getting new talent on board and getting them trained up and profitable in a reasonable amount of time is also a challenge as well. As far as efficiency goes, practices are not as efficient as they could be. Most know that, but it's about how do we get there, and they haven't really kept pace with the industry transformation to the cloud. And then all of these, related to capacity really tie into challenges in being able to scale your practice. So we'll talk about these today and some solutions around them. And first, we want to get an idea of who's in our audience, and ask you a polling question to start off with. So let me launch this poll in the background. And what we want to know is, do you currently have documented standard operating procedures for all of your services? So no wrong or right answer, right? We just want to get a baseline of what's out there. Yes, I have them, but they're not documented. Yes, I'm completely standardized across my entire firm. No, but most, no, but some, and then not at all. So where do you stand today with your processes?
And this is a good one, Clayton, because so frequently you go and talk to people and they say, oh yeah, we know how to do this. And you find out that sure, everyone who's there knows how to do it, but it's not written down anywhere. You bring someone new on and you're spending a lot of time getting them up to speed, training them how to do it, just because you're word of mouth having to pass that tribal knowledge along. It's not actually written down anywhere.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And people are finishing up here, Jeremy. So I'm going to launch these so we can show everybody what, where we lie. Are you able to see, Jeremy? Yeah, so it's directly in line with what we see, right? There's, some that, yes, you have them, but they're not documented, and then a lot on the no section, right? So it's a really big area of opportunity for a lot of firms. So glad to be talking about this topic with this group. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we'll go to the next section. And as we talk about standardization, we really want to talk about first scalability and the importance that it has with scalability. And as we talk about the keys or the secrets, and leading firms are absolutely doing these things today, and they're doing so successfully. And I think number one, and it's there for a reason, is these firms are embracing the cloud. They're embracing technology. They have access to real-time data to make real-time decisions because the cloud allows them to do that. It allows firms to run more efficiently, getting away from some of those traditional or manual workflows. And then just embracing technological change is so important for this industry and for our firms, especially after the year that we've all had. So allow technology to take your business to the next level so you can power prosperity for your business, so you can power prosperity for your clients. The next piece is finding a process that works for your practice and then making sure that your team is completely aligned and your team knows it inside and out. So you have to be able to track, you have to be able to stay on top of your clients, on top of where your job's at any given time. And I think, as you take a look at this, I think the worst excuse, Jeremy, for losing track of a job or a project is not having a standard process to begin with, right? That is the starting point. So, and then on the third one, regardless of what you're using, you might have a practice management system today. You might be using a combination of a bunch of different systems that solve a bunch of different things, and that's completely normal. But you have to have a central place for everything, for everyone in your firm to find that key information. Your team has to know where they need to go for a certain document. They need to know where to go to check the status of a client or a job, when that certain client was contacted last, and what that communication history looks like. And as we jump to the next section on clients, or the next two section on clients, knowing your clients. And ideally, you would be in an environment where you have all ideal clients, ones that you've picked that are your ideal clients. But unless you're a brand new business that just started and made it a priority to make that happen, that's probably not realistic. We know it's not the current state for many firms. But your clients are your lifeblood of your practice. You need to know as much about them as possible and really use that to your advantage. Know when certain activities need to be done for which clients, for all the different engagements that you have. And then the next piece on the clients is really training your clients, right? It is a partnership, and it's not just a relationship between you and your clients. It's a partnership, and you need to prescribe the appropriate workflow for your clients that allows you to operate as smoothly and as efficiently as possible, and really clearly communicate that. Really, it's a big piece of your value prop, training your clients how you operate and making sure that they know how to make your job easier. And most are actually going to be happy and okay to cooperate when they know that they're going to be the ones to benefit from this. So be very clear. For those clients who you've had for many years, who maybe have some bad behavior and it's been going on for a while, it's time to get in front of that, fix that. Don't be a generalist firm who just allows the client to dictate the workflow and the future of your firm. And then the last one, super obvious, you could have the best automation and best practices or processes in the world, but none of that really matters if you don't have a great staff, motivated staff, well-trained staff. So these are the people who are, powering these processes that you put in place. So make sure that you spend the appropriate time hiring the right candidates and getting them trained well. Anything to add there, Jeremy?
No, just we're going to be looking at some of these in more detail later, but like the training your clients and knowing your clients' behavior, and even the staff piece, so much of that are things that there are processes around that. And when you get a new client who comes on, training them up and getting them familiar with you and the right steps to take to get them there, that is a process. And that's, again, one of those things that you don't always think about having documented when you're getting a new client onboarded, but having that documentation so that anyone can pick it up and run with it. It's, again, just one of those things that sometimes isn't picked up, but is very important.
Yeah. So, as we talk more about scalability, a deeper dive into this as we talk about the growing firms or scalable firms, is your services are actually productized. Like everyone knows or has heard of value-based billing if you're not doing it today, and that's really the delivery or the presentation of this. But services in itself, they're contained, right? That's a contained thing that has a start, it has a middle, it has an end, it's defined, it's repeatable. what can become problematic is the variation of that, right? And by having your work systematized, you're really taking that variation aspect out of the picture entirely. Having a clearly defined way end to end how to get it accomplished. And you might have a couple different versions of this, right? For a similar deliverables, like a 1040, a simple 1040 and a complex 1040, both really accomplishing the same thing, but you have different workflows with a different system to accomplish it, right? Maybe less steps in the simple one. But this really just allows for scalability. And the last piece, relationships are personalized, so critical. By doing the top two, it's actually enabling the last one. By having the right steps in place at the right times for the different services, for the different clients. And we'll talk about these things a little bit deeper throughout. As we jump from, so that's scalability, right? Secrets to scalability and how to scale. As we jump from that into automation, really knowing what to automate and what not to automate is really important. And I think it's worth calling out that automation and technology does not fix broken process, right? So the process is the starting point, and automation is what enables you to be more efficient. But automation is best for common, for constant, for systematic tasks that follow a standard pattern. And when you look at this, first you're looking at the skill of the work. It needs to be like low-level type tasks. Then you want to look at the volume, so something that's highly repetitive and probably a good thing to consider automating. And then you look at the complexity of it. It needs to be simple and systematic, and there has to be a return on your investment there. So even if you're only saving a couple seconds, but it's happening hundreds of times a day throughout your entire firm. Jeremy, last session we talked about email and integration there and saving firms 4 hours a week on that piece alone. If you quickly think about how many emails you get in a day and you multiply that by the days and the weeks and the months and the quarters, and you look at it over a year, you're really able to quickly see the value. And we'll talk about a couple different places where automation gives you those seconds back and where you get that time back. Jeremy, I'm actually going to let you talk about some of this stuff. With the different integrations that we have and the automation within. I'll let you step in and talk about these categories.
Yeah, thanks, Clayton. Obviously there's the one that we at Intuit are excited about is that tax integration, the deep integration with ProConnect and Lacert, and really being able to have that like the contact sync there is really powerful, because it's not only automation from the sense of pushing the data, but it's also removing the manual entry step or removing duplicated efforts where you're putting something in once and it just takes care of it. You don't have to worry about managing it in multiple places. Excuse me. The direct integrations, this is one I'm actually, it is really neat. And we've done a few webinars with Practice Ignition in the past where we've shown this, where that direct integration of you get a new client, you onboard them through Practice Ignition, you send them the agreement, they accept that engagement, it creates the work in Intuit Practice Management, that creates the appropriate, if you're using T-sheet integration, that creates the appropriate job code and T-sheets. You can now enter time there. It's getting pushed through to your tax software if you're doing taxes for this person. The whole flow of that integration just really empowers you to do something once and then just have the rest of what you're trying to get done happen for you. And you're not having to deal with, starting that work, going and adding all of those tasks to someone's workload. It just happens because you've set it up to happen that way. The indirect integrations, this really opens up a lot of capabilities and flexibility through Zapier. IPM does integrate with Zapier for contacts. And so right now you can do a lot of integrations with things that don't necessarily have direct integration, like MailChimp or something like that. If you're using them for, mass mailing and marketing activities and things of that nature, you can integrate through Zapier to add a contact in IPM and have that push through to MailChimp, for example. So it really opens up a lot of possibilities that aren't part of necessarily like the core set of what you're doing from a tax work or bookkeeping or something like that, or even advisory. It's that next piece out, and we do still enable the integration to do that as well. And then in the future, we will have an open API with Intuit Practice Management as well. So you can even do more integrations that aren't necessarily things that we build, but that you're building for something specific that you're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. No, great stuff. And as we change from some of these direct integrations to workflow automation, really going back to the three buckets that we were talking about of service, your relationships, and work, and then breaking down the workflow automation within the categories. So the first one we've mentioned, integrations with other solutions, but work automatically being generated with the integrations that we have through some engagement software like GoProposal or Practice Ignition. And then since work's actually being tracked in the software and you're having these super clear steps on getting the job done, having suggested time entries there. So when someone spent time on a job or a project, it's automatically letting you know that, right? So you're not missing any time entries for billable type time. Then having T-sheets integrated, bi-directional sync between the two, and then we'll spend more time on client tasks and show you that client chase workflow here in a sec, but bringing your clients into the workflow with those client tasks, and then having the documents that are being uploaded automatically stored. So as we jump to the work, having global automation that really drives efficiency and makes the appropriate changes, as Jeremy was talking briefly before, getting the statuses updated, due dates updated, the colleagues that are working on it assigned to different roles as the work progresses. And all of it's really being powered by the templates that are already built into the system, just ready to be customized. Jeremy, did I miss anything on the first two sections?
I don't think so. And like you mentioned, we're going to dive into those automators in more detail in the product here in a bit. So we'll get some more there, but I think you hit them all.
And then just touching on the last one, we talked about how important relationships are and personalizing those relationships, but being able to have all that contact and client data in sync, having activity timelines and emails integrated and shared, making sure that your team is always up to speed and can manage those client relationships throughout the entire customer lifecycle. Auto reminders, Jeremy talked about MailChimp, the integration with Zapier. So jumping to the client chase, and we're going to jump through some screenshots here, and then we'll show it a little bit later on, but this is really around the document collection process and collaborating with your clients. So first one, we just mentioned it, Practice Ignition, GoProposal, having the work automatically generated from the proposal software that, with that direct integration there. And then how to use automation and where to use it was one of those first slides. But the best part is you're not actually having to create it from scratch, right? The automation's actually already baked in the appropriate places on the templates. You are able to customize and add, and work off the statuses that you prefer in your firm. So that's already created for you. And then, whether we're talking about client onboarding or, collecting information later on in the process for a specific job or project, there's these client tasks is where you're bringing your client into the actual workflow, right? Collecting what you need when you need it, and it's already built in. So that's what's highlighted in orange here is these client tasks. So this is really why I think the client chase is so frustrating, because there's a lot of time that's spent or a lot of time that's wasted in this area that firms are struggling with today on document collection. So simply going back to the capacity piece and giving you back 3 hours plus a week on that frustrating piece. So going a bit deeper, it's not just when you need a client onboarding information, but throughout the entire work cycle. Any ad hoc request, any follow-up, whenever you need to collect that relevant information, having the appropriate reminder schedule, really just stop wasting time chasing clients for information, letting the system and leveraging technology to do some of these low value tasks. And it's not impacting the relationship, it's just getting rid of some of that chase. So want to do a short walkthrough to give everyone some more context for those of you who haven't seen it, or those of you who are not current Intuit Practice Management customers. But on the sending settings here, remember, this is simply creating a workflow that your client's responsible, in this case, payroll requirements. As I click to the next piece, this is really about who it's going to and when, with the appropriate reminder schedule. You can nudge them based on the importance or client history, I guess, and whatever cadence makes sense for that type of engagement. This is the email that's actually going to be sent off to the client. So we give you pre-filled email, and this is part of that automation piece. It's fully customizable, so you can change it as needed, but it gives you a really good baseline of where to get started. If you need to tweak it, you do just that. But you have these placeholders that are personalized and dynamic, that you set it up at the beginning for hundreds of clients or however many clients you have, and you don't have to write their first name or their last name on each one of these engagements like you would in an email. So we talked about the seconds a while ago, Jeremy, about getting seconds back, and this is one of those simple tasks that's repeatable for a good example of automation here.
And it's amazing how fast that adds up. I mean, obviously we're talking to accountants, so you guys know, but those few seconds over hundreds of clients, over multiple staff members, I mean, it's pretty incredible how quickly that can add up to quite significant savings.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With all of the recurring jobs, all of the different engagements across the board, all the different staff doing it, tons of time. So as once you get that email to where you are ready to send it, and it's got the verbiage that makes sense for that client and that situation, then the customer is actually going to receive that via email. So once they open it in their email, they're not having to remember a username and a password like a portal or something like that, but it's going to take them to this secure portal where they can safely and easily upload the appropriate information that you requested, right? Super clear steps on what needs to be uploaded. You can collaborate with them, comment back and forth, but it automatically stores, saves those documents once they've been uploaded. Just get through it through a 4-digit PIN. It's a 256-bit encryption, so you know that it's a secure encrypted way to get information to and from your client, and do so quickly. I'm going to, I know this slide's super wordy, Jeremy, but I'm not going to go over this. I'm just going to leave it here for the handout, is to give people some guide as they walk through this stuff. So I'll go ahead and skip this one, and then talk about when you should actually be using these client tasks. And Jeremy, I'll let you help me out here, but just touching on the first one, getting meetings scheduled. All the time we hear about firms struggling with meeting scheduling and the time it takes, and their admins are spending too much time, or they're spending too much time. This is a really good area to leverage technology, is online calendar apps, and embed those within your workflow inside Intuit Practice Management. Like we use Calendly at Intuit for all of our customers when we need to have meetings with them. So a lot of, I know Calendly's one I can speak directly to, but there's plenty of them out there. But Jeremy, I'll let you cover, I guess, that piece, and then where else we can use client tasks.
Yeah, I think that one's a great example, the Calendly, because you can include the link in the client task, and you can set up the client task, and we'll show this in a minute, but you can set the client task to get sent automatically when the work starts, or around based on when the work starts. And so you can have your work get created automatically, and then it sends out the client tasks automatically. And the clients are given a link to your Calendly. They click it, they can schedule for themselves. You've just removed all the headaches of you dealing with contacting your clients, setting up a time, finding a time that works with them and with you, and trying to juggle your calendar. I mean, it really leverages technology in a way that is going to save a lot of headache of trying to manage that. And so like that is, I think is, it's a relatively mundane thing, scheduling meeting, but it's something that's going to be so powerful in terms of the time savings you can have as a result of doing that. Likewise with the collection of onboarding docs. I mean, you work, again, you set it up so it starts or kicks off automatically, and then it sends the client task. You don't have to do anything, it's just going to do it. It lets them know exactly what it is that you need from them, gives them a secure portal for them to give it to you, so they're not sending an email, unencrypted documents through email. It's all secure, and it lets them know exactly what you need, when you need it. If they don't get it done, you can remind them. It's great. Again, follow-up notes, if there's additional things you need to get followed up. Excuse me. The clarification of open items, this is awesome because, client tasks are something you can add ad hoc if you need to. If you need something from someone, from one of your clients you want to clarify, you don't have to send them an email. You can actually just do a client task on the work item, and that way it's tracked through there. They can answer a question, they can give you documents, they can do whatever they need to. And it's not just another email that's lost in things. It's going to be with the work item as a client task, which has a lot more power to it on what you're doing. I find that to be really helpful. And then again, if you need to provide them documents, you can do that through a client task as well. It's a secure portal. You're not emailing them attachments. You're actually sending it to them through the secure portal that way. And then of course, you complete work, send them a confirmation, maybe provide them a link to somewhere if you've stored the documents that way, or you're providing them documents through that confirmation as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can use them, and it actually opens up a lot of possibilities for taking work and automating it, or making it more visible, or again, kind of that standardized workflow that you have of, at this point in the process, we send the client task out and it does this thing, and really empowering you to have that standardization.
Yeah, and it's not only the standardization. I think it goes back to the relationship piece, and I think that these things improve the relationship across the board when you're using the system to its capabilities. But kind of just to a recap here on what we're talking about. You're sending, who are you sending it to, and on what reminder schedule? What is the context of the work? What's the job that we're talking about? And how often do they need to be reminded? Do they need to be reminded, or are you just informing them? And if they do, what schedule do you need to put that on? So super, super simple. The last piece that we're covering today, and we've already talked a lot about this, standardization, throughout the other slides, and that's pretty much this whole time we've been talking about standardization. But we're going to be talking about standard operating procedures and the importance of it. And these, and I know a lot of people on this call don't currently have some of this stuff in place, but it's really the backbone of your service delivery. It directly impacts your ability to scale. It directly impacts your profit. You have to get them right? That's critical. All of your recurring tasks or jobs, like, they have a method and they have an order to it. And it needs to be documented. It needs to be evaluated regularly, and your firm needs to be aligned to the same goals. And the larger the firm, the more likely that you probably have some of these in place because you've already scaled probably. But making sure you keep a pulse on it and ensure that you're always running efficiently as possible. When when we see firms that don't have them, it's really impacting their ability to grow their business. Getting new staff up to speed, ensuring staff is following the right process to begin with, all the different services that you offer, and then whatever recurring schedule. And then the last piece is, having a baseline template for the different categories in order to power this from the get-go. And by having standard processes, it really takes the guesswork out of the picture, right? It makes staff more efficient. It makes firms more efficient by just having these processes in place. And I really have this here for handout purposes, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But like, as you standardize and you look at yourself in the mirror and decide, what needs to be worked on or what process needs to be improved, here's some of the questions that you might consider starting with, so you can implement the appropriate improvements. Jeremy, I know that we have a team of onboarding specialists that helps firms get up to speed and started and from the get-go. Anything you want to add there?
Yeah, that's a really good call out. One of the things that we offer with Intuit Practice Management is our onboarding, and we actually have a webinar that's dedicated entirely to kind of that onboarding process. But one of the pieces of that onboarding is a process improvement and process understanding. And so we actually take the time to sit down with you and go through, what are your processes? What do you have documented today? What needs to be documented? It's a great opportunity to go through these questions, review what you already have, find where there's improvements that could be made. One of the things that happens a lot is that, if you're already using a practice management software, when you come to IPM, it's a great opportunity to kind of do housekeeping, look through what is working well and what's working, or rather where you have opportunities to improve some. And so, yeah, to that point, during the onboarding, we actually will make sure that you're set up for success by spending time with you and having an entire session that's dedicated just to kind of understanding your processes and what opportunities you have to improve them, or what's working well that we'll put into place through templates in the program.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. As we within each one of these processes, there's going to be a flow. There's going to be a series of steps that need to be complete, and those are really built through checklists, right? They have to be flexible. They have to be customizable. They have to be efficient and easy to use, easy to manage. And then I think ownership is super critical here, by just having clearly defined roles and responsibilities through every step of the way, through each step of the process. So when handoffs happen, make sure that you're over communicating during those handoffs. When, ideally you would like to separate those checklists into sections, preferably by ownership. And then I think the last piece, and we spent like the whole session talking about this last time, Jeremy, is having the importance of having visibility into it and knowing where you stand with it. And the best practice is having statuses that actually relate to the person or the team or the group of people owning each part of that section, so you really know where it's at from a status level. Regardless of size, one person shop or multi-location, standard operating procedures are key to running a efficient firm. Needs to be systematized. It needs to run like a well-oiled machine. And what we offer is templates that come with the system. So having super clear steps throughout the entire process, trackable visibility into where your team's at, really good starting place for the firms who don't have anything in place, and a really good place to compare and improve for the ones who do. And as we jump into these, just kind of highlighting real quickly, giving you 30 plus industry vetted templates, and these are not generic templates, and we'll show you some of these here in a sec. A lot of time went into creating these as a great baseline for this industry, for tax and accounting professionals and all the major services that you provide, from the services all the way to improving internal processes as well. And ultimately, all the things that we're talking about is leading to improved quality and less time to complete the work. Still going back to capacity, right? That main theme. So really there's a 7-step process from start to finish. You know, one, we're giving you the templates to start with. So you're either building your own or reviewing what's already there, and then customizing that, creating the work based off of that, personalizing that work to your client, setting up the appropriate schedule, and then simply managing the work and then getting visibility and gaining insights into it. You know, that's start to finish, but the power behind the software, Jeremy, is I think we're taking a lot of this burden off of our clients, because a lot of this is already built in, right? The work's already been created for all of the tax clients. It's already built with the appropriate, you know, flow from section to section. It's really just about customization to that specific client moving forward. So, you know, to wrap this up, because I want to give us enough time to jump into the product, you know, we call Intuit Practice Management workstream collaboration software, and it allows firms to collaborate in context with the work going on in your firm, ultimately increasing your efficiency. So we covered automation, we covered workflow automation, we covered how to scale, the importance of standardization, and how that allows you to scale your practice. So just giving firms back that critical time that they need to run more effective and more efficient organizations. Jeremy, anything else before I let you take over the screen share here?
I don't think so. I'm eager to dive into the product.
Cool, let's do it. I think
Awesome.
you have the ability to, right?
I do. Let me get it up here. All right, so you should be seeing my list of work templates.
I see it. Yes, sir.
Excellent. All right, so like Clayton mentioned, you know, Intuit Practice Management ships with over 30 best practice templates. These are great starting points. You can see here they cover a variety of things, and kind of like I mentioned, these do more than just cover, you know, work that you offer. There's other processes that you might want to have a standard process for, such as staff onboarding, staff offboarding. You know, someone comes on board, what are the different things that you need to make sure that are done? And you can have a template for that. If there's other processes you have internal or external, you can create a template for it. And that makes it really easy for anyone to know exactly what needs to happen. It's going to be stored in one place. And it's going to really offer a lot of flexibility in terms of who's doing what, and scalability, because you don't have to worry about making sure everyone knows, you know, where to go to find something, because it's all going to be kind of laid out very well and easily for you in one place. You also have the ability to not only use this as a starting point, but you can create a brand new one, and you can start from scratch if you want to and just go from there. So some people do like to do that instead of basing it on something that we already have existing. But there's a lot of different options that you have in terms of how you have these set up. Let's actually go ahead and open one up and take a look. So on the template itself, you have the different sections. You can see here, I can collapse them all. These different sections are kind of split up into one, whatever it is that you're doing within this section. So the actual work tasks that need to happen that pertain to that section. There's also the client task section, and then the non-client tasks, or the internal work pieces. And on the client tasks, you can actually set up your sending settings here. And this is what I was speaking to earlier around scheduling the tasks to auto send. And you can have it go X number of days either before or after the work start date. So this is really great because you can set up your template to say, send my client tasks, you know, 2 days after the work start date. You can set up whether or not you want to have the reminders turned on, and save that. And now every time that a piece of work is created from this template, those client tasks are going to use these sending settings. And that means that if I have this work template set up on a schedule for a particular client, this is monthly accounting. So let's say I have this kick off a new work item every month based on a schedule. It's going to create the work for me without me having to do anything. It's going to send the client task without me having to do anything. So you can really set up a lot of automation steps here and use it to drive work and not have to worry about chasing this down yourself or going and starting the work yourself. It's going to get set up for you automatically, and then go ahead and request that information from the client automatically as well. On the topic of automation, we have things called automators. I'll kind of point out what some of them are. For instance, this is when all the tasks in the section above have been complete, change the due date of the task in this section to 1 day after it's been triggered. So this is essentially saying when the client has completed their step, make this section due a day later. You can also change the status of things. You can have it so that it will change the status of the work item. It can change the assignee. You can see here where the assignee of the work gets updated to whomever is in the bookkeeper role. You can also change the status of the tasks themselves. You can change the status of all the tasks within the section to ready to start once the section above it is completed. And so this is really great because it goes back to that whole concept of, Clayton mentioned, I think it was 95% of people know what they're going to work on next as a result of using this. This is one of the things that helps drive that. If you're using the automators to drive the status changes, drive the assignment changes, drive the task statuses, it really is going to help your team know, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do today? And let them know when things are due. And all this is getting driven automatically based on other triggers that are happening. You're not having to go manually do any of this. It's just getting kicked off automatically as a result of the work starting, or the client doing something, or someone else in the workflow taking a step. Anything to add kind of on this piece? I'll touch a bit more on the automators in a minute.
No, I think like within each section, right? It's defined, you mentioned bookkeeping by roles, right? But the other part of the standardization, and you might be about to be covering this, Jeremy, so sorry if you are, but those tasks are directly tied to your to-do list, right? We have a task manager that shows each one of these tasks, so you know exactly where you stand, and knowing what you need to work on next because it's in your to-do list, right? It's your task manager that directly ties to this baseline template.
Exactly, and I was going to touch on that in just a minute.
Sorry.
But no, you're absolutely correct. And so that's kind of the great thing is, like, when these things show up as ready to start, or it changes the due date, that's what's going to drop these tasks into my to-do list. And there's a lot of power there. And let me touch one more thing on automators, kind of at the global side, and then we'll take a look at that to-do list actually. So I come in here. So those were automators that were on a template or on a work item. There's also a concept of global automators. These are things that aren't necessarily for a piece of work, but it's something else. You can kind of see what they are here. Some of these I think are actually really useful. For example, you can have things like when the work, when work changes from planned to in progress, update its start date. I have this one turned off, but you could turn this on. And this is basically saying, once someone actually goes in and starts working on the work, make the start date be whatever that is. So you might have something that has a start date of tomorrow, but you're going to go get ahead and start today. We can actually update the start date automatically, so it's tracking, what actually occurred. That I think is actually pretty useful. Other things around like assigning emails or to-dos. If you assign an email out, set it to ready to start, that's going to show up in that task list, or the to-do list. And so you have a lot of options, not only within the template and within the work items on how you use automators, but globally as well. With that in mind, let me pop over to my to-do list, and you can see here, I've kind of collapsed everything except for this, but this update and send client task for upcoming tax work, this got sent to my to-do list automatically. The previous step on a work item got completed. It got assigned, this task got assigned to me. The due date got set, the status got set to ready to start, and it showed up in my to-do list. So, again, going back to that concept of what do I need to do, knowing what needs to happen, knowing what my next steps are, I can see what's due today, what I have due this month, what overdue items I have. Again, it really drives that, what do I need to be working on? I don't necessarily need to worry about, managing all of my work. I can come to my to-do list and the system is putting what I need to do right here. And there's a lot of power in that in terms of that automation and scalability. I think this really goes a long way towards that. The not having to look for work and not having to try to figure out what I'm doing next really helps you scale, because it's just constantly knowing what I'm doing next, what needs to get done, and not spending time looking for it. It's just going to be right here for me.
Yeah, 100%. And you just had it filtered by due date, right? You can go back and filter this however you want to see the data. But in regards to getting things done, adding filters, and then on the sliding sorter on the other side, configuring how you want to actually see it, whether it's by client or to due date, or what work you want to be looking at. So a lot of different ways that you can view this.
Yeah, there's a lot. And this is my to-do list. If I wanted to look at someone else's, I do have that ability as well. So if I'm a manager and I want to check out my teams or a specific member of my team, I can do that too. So there's a lot you can do from here. Anything else on the to-do list, Clayton?
No, I think that's great.
And I'm going to step into a specific work item now and kind of go into some details on here. I'm going to skip ahead real quick just to show some pieces. This is all of these tasks are based on a template. So when this work item was created, it was created from a template. So all of the tasks that you see on here were based on that. And that's great, because that's kind of the standard template that our firm is going to use for 1040s. But let's say that my particular client has some additional need, or the way I like to track what they need to do is a little different. You can add and adjust these templates for your client. And when this client's next work item gets created, so the 1040 for next year, when it gets created, it's going to be based on whatever I did here. And so a really good way of looking at this is, let's take a look at my documentation request for the upcoming tax work. Let's say I know Nikki needs a 1099 specifically. I'm going to go ahead and add a client task here and say, please attach 1099. Now, this is added to her client task. So when I send Nikki a mail, it's going to be included on that. And not only that, when the work is rolled over for next year, this is going to be there. And one of the customers I've talked to in the past, he said that he loves the ability to do this because it helps him keep track of what he's doing for the client, and it helps the client know what to expect. So every time he gets a new form or a new document that's required for that client's work, he adds it to the list of specific things he's asking for from that client, and it helps him keep track of, hey, what did I do last time for this particular customer? And it helps them know that he's keeping track of things as well. And so nothing is slipping through the cracks there, right? And again, go into that automation. And let me get this sent off, and I'll speak to a few more things here. I'm going to send this to Nikki. And you can see here, Clayton mentioned, you can kind of specify from whom this is coming. It can be the work assignee, the client owner, or another colleague. This is really great, because if you have someone who owns that client relationship and you want they're just trained, Clayton is my, representative. They're the guy I work with all the time. You can have all of the emails go out from Clayton. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the person doing the actual task. It could be from someone else, or it could be from the person doing the task if you want. It's really up to you. You have a lot of flexibility there, and that goes to that relationship building that Clayton mentioned as well. How you work with your clients, whatever method you use, we kind of support that and help you do it. On the email as well, you can edit it at the template level, as Clayton was showing, so all of them can kind of use this format. Or I can specify for this particular email I'm sending out, I want to change it up a little bit. I have the power to do that. and then I can send it now, or I can schedule to send this later. This is great also because I could set my my task up now, but actually send this out tomorrow or send it out later if I want to. I'm going to go ahead and say send it now though. And for this particular one, I'm going to turn off the reminders. Now that's sent out. It lets me know it's sent to Nikki Davis. Now I'm going to speak to you a few other things, and we'll show you the portal side of this. I mentioned you can add things, so this has been added to it. If there's also something I don't need to do at all for my client, let's say this is actually a pretty simple one. I don't need this review piece. I can come in here and I can actually delete it. And if I delete, let me just delete the whole section. I can delete that section. Now in Nikki's 1040 template, the next one kicks off, that review section is not going to be there because I don't need it for this. This is a simple one. There's no review. I can just remove it. That's, you have a lot of flexibility on how you do this. One other thing to note is that if you do change the master template, you do have the option of coming in here and resetting the work. And if you do that, it's going to take whatever your new template is and apply it here. So if you've gone through and said, hey, we're going to overhaul all of our 1040 work, add some new sections, remove some others, change some wording or something, and then you want that applied again, when you come in here, you can actually reset the work. Or if you just accidentally deleted too many things, you can reset it back to that base template and not worry about, kind of messing it up too badly. You have that option to reset it to either fix something or to apply an update to that template. One other thing I wanted to show now is, let's actually take a look at the portal. I see here that my email came through. So what the client sees when they receive something, you see here it came from me because I was the one who sent it, and it's going to let them know that we have a checklist. And you can see this 1040 is, sorry, the 1099 is what I specifically had added to it, and that got added on here. And I can click this and it's going to bring me to this portal. As Clayton mentioned, this is a secure portal. We use the 256-bit encryption, and I'm just going to do this. And here are my two things. Now I can check this off as complete, and this one wants a specific file. Let me show you what that looks like real quick here. Upload a 1099. And you can see that. I'm going to check that off as well. Now my client portal side of this is done. Let me come back and show you what that looks like here. You can actually see it's already updated live for me. It has checked this off. It has checked that off. It showed that Nikki had posted a file. And if I come over here to the details down here on my recent documents, I've got that 2020 1099 that Nikki added, and you can see it was added today. So it's putting all of the documents in one place. So I can just come to this details tab whenever I need to see what documents do I already have on this work item, what's been uploaded through that portal. It's going to put them in here in one spot. So I don't even necessarily have to go and look through all the different client tasks. It's just going to be there for me. The other nice thing to notice is that these did get checked off. And so you can see the client checked them off, and it checked them off in here for me. And again, it's kind of driving that work forward. So if I have automators set up to look at what's happening in my client task section and then drive some other step, it's going to do that. I don't have to come in here and say, did Nikki upload that file? When Nikki uploads it and checks it off, it's going to check it off on the system for me. Clayton, anything else kind of around the portal, client tasks?
No, I think it's really good. You're using your work is systematized and your relationships are being built because you can plug this in specific, customized to each client. So love it. Great stuff.
Awesome. And I think that's it. And also just to be mindful of time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Yeah, give me a sec here and I'll take it over. And we will wrap up here. Can you see me okay, Jeremy? All right, so just so we can get everyone who does need more information, let me launch this last poll. And so we can get you the information you need so you can, as you reevaluate technology, or you don't have standard processes, or you're looking to improve efficiency, let us know. Is this not launched? Sorry, there it is. Sorry, guys.
There we go.
So let us know, would you like to learn more about Intuit Practice Management? Do you want some more information on it? If you're already a customer, let us know as well. Thank you for your business. We appreciate it. We have a lot of happy customers right now, and super happy with putting this inside Intuit's professional tech stack. So have some votes coming in. Give it about 10 more seconds. Make sure we get everyone, and I'll close it out in about 5 seconds. And about 80%. So thank you. We'll make sure that we get you the information that you need. And I know that we are over time here, so I want to be mindful of that. Jeremy, always fun getting to do these things with you. Thanks for being here. Emily, thank you for being here and letting us have this opportunity. And I hope everyone has a fantastic day. And thanks for being here.
It's great. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Clayton and Jeremy. Everyone, thank you for being here. I'll get the webinar recording and handout to everyone shortly. Hope you all have a great day, and we hope to see you at the next Insightful Accountant webinar. Have a good one.
Thank you.